Yes, we do. Thank you. Every time I take a trip, which of course for many years I've been going places, this way of traveling is newer, but whenever I step out the back door of the house, I always stop for a minute and visualize myself walking back in. And I always feel very grateful because so many people who leave home to go on holiday or whatever it is are not happy to come back. And I'm always happy to come back. And it warms my heart to be here again. And the amazing illusion of time and space. When you're there, and when you're here, and who can say? So I thought we'd start with the chant, just to put us in the mood, and then I'll just talk with my friends, tell you where I've been, what I've done, Keshav, if you'd be kind enough. Why don't we start with a prayer? Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Master, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, humbly we bow to you all. Dear Swami Kriyananda, we are so deeply grateful for your life of service and devotion to Master, for the example you set, and for the stream of magnetism that you have left behind, and that we may follow. We are your children. Guide us and bless us. Om Shanti. Amen. So let's just do a chant together, because that's always a good idea.
I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with thy name. I will sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk with sing thy name, I will drink thy name, and get all drunk, with thy name. Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru, Om. 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 Om Guru, Om Guru, Om Guru,
Let's just meditate for just a couple of minutes. Om, peace. Amen. Well, thank you, so many of you, for coming. Very nice to see you. You know, if I were going to summarize the last 6 weeks, I would use 2 words. The first word would be privilege, absolute privilege, and the second would be gratitude. You know, those of us who swim in the water of spiritual community and brothers and sisters, we always know it's lovely, but we don't appreciate how rare it is. And what a remarkable experience it has been to be able to draw a circle around our lives and be within a spiritual atmosphere pretty much whenever we want to, going either to the community or to here, or even to our East-West bookshop or to our schools. And we're just always somewhere where people are really sincerely doing their best to tune into it and express the light. It's not by any means that we're the only people in the world doing that, but that there's so many of us, and it's so accessible to us. And what I felt entirely the whole time I was traveling, which is I have very, 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 very good karma to be able to just do what I was doing, which was just go from place to place. And the only thing I was there to talk to people about was Master's teaching, and they came and they wanted to hear it, and they were wonderful brothers and sisters. And there you have it. I mean, that's about the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. Everybody else took pictures, and I randomly would just post some so that you could see them. And we'd tell everybody, smile, because your brothers and sisters all over the world are going to see you. And sometimes you could just see they knew that more as a dim theory than with the deep reality that I knew. I thought for a while I was actually losing my voice, but it's really just if I don't drink enough water, I can't speak as soon as I do. So it's God's way of keeping me hydrated for the next 25 years. In any case, and then the second was just gratitude for the astonishing teachings that Swami presented and then Master brought down to a practical level. Everybody, because we advertised entirely with Autobiography of a Yogi. When I traveled last fall, people actually presented the talks with just my name on it, and I pointed out to them that the phrase simply is, who cares, right? But if we put Autobiography of a Yogi there, then people will know what I'm talking about. It also gives me permission to be myself, which I'll speak about that in a moment. So this time it was Autobiography of the Yogi all the way through. I myself forgot that that's what I'd insisted upon. And I was a little unsure at certain points, but I've gotten over it and I'll be better in future. So everybody came, they knew what they were coming for. And everybody therefore had some mild or great experience with spiritual teaching. And with all due respect, you could tell from the questions that even though they had been sincere in their seeking, in many cases, they just never got it clear, the way that Swami just makes it so clear. You can just take, no matter how complicated it is, and you can get it down to something you can actually do. And I was just over and over again, like, where would I have been if it hadn't been for Swami? Even Master's teachings, at least for me, through Autobiography of a Yogi, felt inaccessible until he translated it for me. And then I could say, oh, I can see how we can live it. And because there were, the smallest group we were traveling in was 4, which was, I should start at the beginning, but there was at least 4 of us who were serious, super serious on this path all the time. And so we were always able, again, this was unusual for people, to see what it really looks like, because we were not foreign, even though in Japan especially we couldn't speak the language. But we were not foreign. We were so recognizably just like them, and there was no deal about it. When we were, I think it was in Australia, because Aryavan and Ishani were helping to set up, and I was just in my room. I would take the time to be in my room whenever I could, and I get a text, and there's a picture of a very unassuming little chair, and Aryavan says, "This is the chair I chose for you to sit on." And I said, "Sure, looks great to me." And then later he told me, he said, "You should have seen what they were going to put you on," like the Dalai Lama's throne. He said, "I sensed you wouldn't like that." You were right, Aryavan, I wouldn't like that. But that was like, because I'm a Swami coming from America, I'm of a certain age, I have this experience. They don't expect you to just be, they don't know, is actually the word. They don't have an expectation, they just don't know. But Swami, of course, set us the example of just being yourself wherever you are. I remember Swami commenting, he said, the older I get, he said, the more the myth of Kriyananda swirls around me, is how he put it. Except in the middle of it, he said, I'm just the same old guy. And I could see how that begins to happen, because you get a reputation, people know you in certain ways, but we're not that way. That's not the way Swami brought us up. And again, I was just so grateful. This trip was 6 weeks and 4 countries. We started in South Africa, and Dambar was the constant. He was always with me, and I crowned him WP, which means wonderful person. He's just a wonderful person in every respect, and a consummate musician. He knows Swami's music like just the back of his hand. He can just sing anything, and there's no kerfuffle about it. He's an instrument of the music. He's like literally, he's like an instrument, even though it happens to be his own voice. And he knows all the songs, and he understands them. And what was possible because of that would have been completely impossible without it. So we were really a team the whole time through. And he's a wonderful Virgo. He always knew where we were. He always knew what we had to do next. And I had the great luxury of never knowing what we had to do next. And actually, when we were in Tokyo, where we were for a week, we were in an Airbnb, and in order to get to the venues, we had to go through the subways and so on like that. And we had Chika, who lives in Delhi, but she's Japanese. And Aryavan and Ishani and Dampa are all marvelous travelers with Google Translate, which you all may know, which you just point at something and it reads it in English for you. So you can go everywhere and read all the signs. But I realized after that, it was the very last day I realized I did not know the address of where we were staying. I had no idea. I don't carry my phone, so I had nobody's phone numbers. I didn't even know Chica's last name, even though I've known her for years. It was never relevant to ask. I realized like a child I needed to have a sign on, if lost, return to. And practically the only phone number I actually know is Karen and Anaya and David, who are actually in Italy. I figured if I got lost, I'd borrow a phone, I'd call them, and then just let them sort it out. I'd tell them where I was, and eventually somebody would find me. But it was tremendous luxury for me, because I didn't even care where we were going. I didn't care what the program was. I just would find out soon enough. So I got to practice being a sannyasi. I mean, on just like a ratcheting up level. That's what my job is now, to really practice that, which is very rare, in the life that we live, because I essentially had no responsibilities except just to show up, and I didn't even have to do that. Somebody would just move me like a package. And then my job, and again, for me, because if there wasn't something in this for me to learn, I wouldn't still be doing it. So it occurred to me that someday I'll stop doing this, that whatever the balance is that all these bazillions of words are about for me, at some point I just sensed one day, someday it'll come to even. But until then, this is what I do. And so I have to find a way to make it interesting. And I may have mentioned this before, but it was even more intense this time. My job is to be, the word is not blank, but the word is to be exactly in the moment, so that whatever is supposed to happen will happen, and it won't be imposed by my preconception. I think I got about 75%, maybe a score of, maybe as low as a C, maybe a B minus. I got confused in South Africa and I got confused in Japan at the beginning of both of those, because they were so different. And they were so different, there were so many cultural issues in both places, I allowed those cultural issues to confuse me. And it took me until farther into it to just put aside preconceptions and just allow the energy to be there. We went to, this whole trip was really planned from the online study course in India. Swami Shankara, the person formerly known as Jamal, as we say. But Swami Shankara has always taken a fatherly interest in my spiritual well-being, which I have always appreciated. And at one point, some months ago, 6 months ago, he's determined that I follow my destiny. And so he asked if I wanted to go on this trip, which was going to be South Africa and Japan. Then we added New Zealand and Australia. Actually, they were all part of it from the start. So it was totally arranged from that side. And it was based on his, with the online India class, wanting to know what was going on in South Africa especially, and Japan both, because they were sort of like nobody knew. They were just very new, and we just didn't know how to go forward until we could meet people and find out who was really strong and who really had good energy, and because you can't tell that much from Zoom, all that. So in South Africa, Shankara came from India, and last time I traveled, last fall, I forgot to take a videographer. I mean, it was just about as dumb as that. I got to the airport and thought, I need to have someone with me with a video camera, because otherwise you pour all this energy out into some program and it's over, and that's the end of it. Whereas if you film, over time, hundreds, even thousands of people can see it. And so for years, I always traveled with a videographer, but I forgot. So I was ready for this one, and the devotee Neha, who lives in Sacramento now, who's actually from Gurgaon, her parents were devotees in India when Swami first arrived. When she was 8 years old, her parents took her to the Pune community where they lived for a while. Then when that didn't hold together, or for reasons I don't know the whole history, when she was 16, she came to Ananda village to go to school. She's a very gutsy girl. She came, and she's been in the U.S. ever since. She goes, now she's a college student. Now she has a student visa. She's 20 years old. And I've known her distantly. She traveled to the East Coast with me last fall, and I could see that she was very, very capable. So we borrowed her from Dharmadas and Nirmala for 2.5 weeks. And so she was the videographer the whole time. It was a really complicated, tough job. First of all, she had a backpack of equipment that must have weighed 30 pounds. Fortunately, she's very strong. I couldn't carry it, but she could carry it. And we had a 15-pound little speaker, which we had to use all the time. And no one helped her. She was just all by herself, putting these things up, setting them down, and in extremely difficult venues, some of them. Huge echoey room, which was impossible to use. The microphones kept breaking. The last was, all through South Africa, it was just one issue after another for her. She did a great job, but it was tough. It was the last one we'd gotten to Cape Town, and they'd booked us into this, it was a movie theater that had like 3 or 4 different showing rooms. It was a very well-known venue. It was very conveniently located. We had a very good crowd. That was actually probably the best talk, well, second best in Africa. But we got in there. First of all, we couldn't get in until like just 30 minutes before the program. So she has to, and with the steep stairs, she has to lug all this equipment up. She has to set this thing up. She has to find the plugs. And it's this tiny, dark room with no lights, just these tiny little lights up here like this. And she has to set the whole thing up. And we had several people there who were less than conscious. So, people kept walking back. Even while she was filming, people kept walking back and forth in front of the filming like this. And she was in touch with Ishani, who was her mentor the whole way. So she sends, there's no lights. So we set up first we're going to have everybody hold their flashlights, but then I'm blinded. That one didn't work. So we set up an iPad on a music stand, and every 5 minutes or so I'd just touch it again. It would give a little light like this. By this time, I was having so much fun. I was just completely relaxed. It was so goofy. And so then she sends a screenshot to Ishani somewhere of what's going on in this picture, because Ishani's monitoring all this stuff. Ishani writes back, she says, "It looks like a proof of life hostage video." A proof of life hostage video, like she's alive, she's in South Africa. If you ever want to see her again, send us 100,000, whatever, like that. So all that goes well. We had a really fun time. I really enjoyed the audience. And then all of a sudden, the guy with the broom, the maintenance man who has to come in between the films to sweep the popcorn out, shows up and tells us, I'm in the middle of answering a question, that there are people lining up outside, and we have to get out. We have to get out right now. So she has to pull everything down and, pile it on her back, and everybody's scrambling. She's all by herself again. I didn't even really observe until the very end that no one at all was helping her. Not that she complained, she was fabulous. So she comes out, just scrambling downstairs, and we're standing there among all the popcorn-eating moviegoers. She says, "Go on tour with Asha," they said. "It'll be fun." That became, after that was the theme. Go on tour with Asha, they said. It'll be fun, they said. But she was terrific. And she was a super good sport, and she was really good at what she did. She was a lot of fun. So, and then we had Shankar came from India, and then there is a monk in Chandigarh who's Indian, what do they call Indian origin, I think is how they call it, but he's a South African citizen. So he came, and his father lives in South Africa and is a devotee. He's a born to the path young man. So we had Shankar Arahant, his father Terence, which he has some long South Indian name, but he just calls himself Terence because it's easier. And Amrita, who lives as an Indian woman from Bangalore who assists Shankara. And we were hosted by a lot of Indians through that. It was very multicultural. So that was, and then Dunbar and me. So it was the 6 of us, which was a really good racial mix for the culture, because Shankar, his father is African-American and his mother was actually German. And he has, dreadlocks down to here. So everybody thought he was Jamaican or Rastafarian. I mean, who knew? When you get into that place, the cultural thing is so complicated. And Johannesburg, Durham, the first 2 towns we were in, there's a lot of just tension. They actually, very graciously at the beginning, our host in Johannesburg told me to take these rings off. She said, "You do not walk around the street with this much value on your hand because somebody will just try to take it from you." It was like, whoa, this is nothing I ever thought about before. So I did pull them off, and I just never wore them. She said I could put them back on in Cape Town, but by that point I had just thought, no, I think I'll just leave them off. And in the neighborhood we were staying in, which was, upper middle class neighborhood, the whole neighborhood has a big wall around it with electric fences. Every single house has a big wall around it with 3 wires of electric fences and all of these. And I never felt like we weren't safe, but nonetheless, this is the reality everybody lives with. And just the politics were so complicated. I felt intimidated in Johannesburg and to a certain extent in Durham. Durham? Is that what it's called? Durban, yes, thank you. Just like, and that was, by the time I got to Cape Town, which has a different atmosphere, I'd also recovered a little bit. And I just realized these are all devotees, everybody's just the same. We met lovely people everywhere. Shankar and I, we talked briefly just a day or 2 ago, because we never had time when we were there. Just like, what to do next about South Africa, where to go, which cities, what's possible. This is like, Ananda is really in a whole new dimension of just like, how do you make an international worldwide work? Just like who travels, who goes, who decides, who's in charge. In South Africa, it's all English speaking, of a manner of speaking, mostly we could understand. But when we got to Japan, I'd also, there was about 1/3 of the people in the room in Japan spoke English. I'd been led to believe it would be many fewer than that, but there was a great deal of English in the room. We had those, if you've seen the pictures, our programs were in these 2 beautiful little garden houses, which were absolutely magnificent and perfectly Japanese, and they were limited to 25 people. Yeah, I didn't really find that out until because nobody knew exactly. Half the crowd thought we'd be lucky to get 10, and the other thought we'd get more, but I think it was a very good place to start. The Japanese devotees were absolutely wonderful, English speaking or not. They just were, I really liked being there. I've never been to Japan. I never even thought of going to Japan. Never crossed my mind. It's very westernized. They have a very strong sense of aesthetics, but they're also very trendy with fashion and all of that. And Neha went back to the US, and Shankar and the others went back to India, and Aryavan and Ishani, when we got off the plane in Tokyo, they were there, with Chika, who was from Delhi, who'd come out. Chika has see, this is how it works. An Indian man who had always studied Japanese, look at the world we live in. So he works for, I don't know, it might be even a German company in Japan, maybe it's a Japanese company. And he had been in Bangalore and had gotten devoted to Ananda, so he contacts Shankara and says, let's do something here in Japan. And so then Chika from Delhi gets involved, and she's been teaching online classes in Japanese. But all of a sudden, getting there, I realized there's a whole other issue, which is there are very few resources in Japanese. And I can't do what I always do, which is send them to my YouTube channel, because most of them can't understand what I'm saying. SRF has done a few books, and over the course of time, when Padma was doing international book sales, various Ananda books were put out in Japanese, but all of them were out of print. But they were available, from used books, and so Chika had it all pretty well worked out. But the autobiography was well known, so we could follow that. And she translated, because we had a Kriya initiation. We had a Kriya initiation in South Africa. And for almost everyone, it was the first time in person. Half of them were, like, it was 10 maybe 12. Hard for me to remember. And half of them were first initiates, and all of them, I believe, were first time in person initiates. And Shankar and I did this together in this retreat. I'm back in South Africa, retreat. And, it's just all really remarkable what is going on everywhere. In South Africa, to go back there for a minute, a lot of what you're looking at is you're looking at ethnicity and race, skin color, and the Afrikaners they're a whole different group, and then there's what they call the Europeans, which is just sort of your basic white people who aren't the Afrikaners, and then you have the black people, and then you have indigenous people, which are a completely other group, and they're all, kind of doing all this because of all that happened. We had this whole Indian woman tell us about, I think it was her father was a child when whatever the government was then just came into where they were all living and just threw them all out of their homes and put them in some ghetto area over here, divided the whole country up along racial and ethnic lines. This is like within living memory. And then all of that changes, but everybody's real suspicious. And I don't have any, and this actually became very interesting to me because I don't have any instinctive thought about race or ethnicity. You just lose that pretty easily. But vibration is real. Some people have a vibration that's compatible with yours and some people don't. And sometimes those vibrations divide along other lines, but it's not the other lines that create the difference, it's just that you're in tune with different things. And so it was so interesting to me because anybody who was in tune, and we had every group that there was in the country coming into the room, and then you just never thought about who they were. But sometimes walking down the street or being in some other sort of a situation, you would feel a different vibration, which often went along some kind of identifiable, what does my body look like line. And I just realized how really, really hard this is to sort out. Because how many people have the sensitivity to think just in terms of vibration? Everybody just takes whatever form is in front of you. But the future, as Dana was saying in this room the other evening, when you all were here and I wasn't, the future is not form, the future is energy. So every time we were working with energy, it didn't matter who was in the room. If I'm worried whether somebody's going to mug me for my rings, that's a whole different thought. Anybody who would mug me is not going to necessarily be a friend of mine, at least not immediately, So one got to practice. One got to practice in a way that I have to practice in the same way here. And just practice keeping your heart open, never being afraid, never judging people, never caring. What the energy was around you. What should it matter to me? Even if vibrations are incompatible, why should I care? This is the sannyasi, just trying to play it out like it really is because I had the freedom to do it. Anyway, that was all part of it. We get to Japan, the overall vibration of Japan is just so unified and they're so organized. And Ishani and Aryavan live in India, so they took a whole lot of pictures of how orderly and rule-following the Japanese were. So we're in this room, which is limited to 25, which we could have put 50 in easily. But as soon as the 26th person came in, one of our Japanese hosts would walk out of the room. It was just like they were not going to do, it was 25, and that was the agreement. And we were laughing about what would happen in India. They were just like, And then Ishani loved this the most. All the escalators, everybody stands to the left so that anybody who wants to walk faster can go up like that. And they were talking about in India, just people just lounge and sit, and like it was just completely out of the question. Who knows how do these things develop? Or I guess God makes them so that you can choose the one that you want. Who's to say? And what was so interesting in Japan, I wrote this, we were getting the benefit of Bharat's work from decades ago. The key people that we were dealing with there, the key people were all people who'd met Bharat from sharing nature from like in the 70s. This one man in particular, he was sort of the core. And he got that book in English. He could barely read English. And he just knew it was his. And he came very quickly to America to meet Bharat. It was quite something. And there was one lovely young woman, probably in her 20s, and she was 4 years old when her mother took her to Ananda village to be with Bharat. And there's a huge Sharing Nature program group there in Japan, but there's also a core of them who've taken it. And he's hoping to pull out of the Sharing Nature group a real Ananda group. And I think that will happen. It was all, and we did a Kriya for like 5 of them there. And one of them who was being initiated, he had, some years before, he had seen Master's picture in some newspaper thing. He had no idea who or what Master was, but he knew immediately it was the most important individual. And so he just set out to find out who he was. And then there he was taking Kriya. So it was all pretty. And then we had to do all of that in translation. I would speak, Chico would do it in Japanese. And there's so many funny things about being translated. What I finally figured out, which is now I don't mind it. Well, I obviously prefer English. I finally found the word for what I do. I'm a jazz musician with words, which is I riff. I hear a little melody that interests me, and I just follow it over here, and I play it out for a while. Then I come back, and I find another. But you can't do that when you're being translated, because you have to say this much, then you have to let it be repeated, then you can't riff. So all things I'd hear all the other melodies, but when you're being translated, they're receiving the thought when you're not speaking. So it became also one of the things that I was working with, which is to project thought that are not words. Because I used to just kind of zone out while somebody was talking, and I realized, no, this is the most important part of the talk, is while they're saying Japanese, I have to put the thought out so that people will get it, because it's vibration first, and words are really quite second to that. So it was all, as you can imagine, extremely entertaining and fun. And Aryavan and Nishani and Dambar are amazing travelers, all of them, all 3 of them. I didn't even know our address. They knew the subway lines, which lines went, who went where, which train we should take. If we missed a stop, that we had to go over here and we had to pay more money, and they knew exactly. I mean, I was just like, it was unbelievable to me. That sounds silly, but all of them, they just step into wherever they are. And so they were magnificent. And the Shankara and the first crew also. Shankara was just the same, and Amrita was just the same. But it was more dramatic to me in Japan because I was so completely lost. I looked over and Nishani's having an animated conversation, 2-way conversation with people who don't speak any English. But she was just, getting her point across, and they were getting it. And because it's an open-hearted, so having everybody there was really important. And lots of people have children, and they're asking questions, and Aryavan could answer all of that. And later it came up, I wrote this in my letter, that people were asking about how to raise their children. People have this idea that you're not supposed to tell your children what you believe because you don't want to indoctrinate them. So I realized, Aryavan, you can talk about that because you were raised by Gary and Indira, and you can talk about what it's like and how best to do it. So he sat and this was in, would have been New Zealand by then, but and they were all more approachable than me. And to a certain extent, I'm not oddly really that extroverted. So as soon as I'm done, I'm kind of done. If somebody comes and asks me or something, but I don't feel any need to schmooze. I try to because it's my job. As Swami said, no, it wasn't Swami who said it. It was Catherine Kairavi who said it. I wonder what kind of personality I'd have if I had the freedom to choose. She said, you have to be outgoing for people. But they were all much more extroverted by nature. And so, and other people could talk to them more easily. They felt strangely intimidated by the Naya Swami. So that was how it worked. The Kriya there was also really wonderful. It's just, you're just there and you have this, it's so ancient. And who are these people? Where did they come from? I've never met them before. I don't know anything about them really. I get this much conversation. And they're just there to practice Kriya and to be Master's disciples, just like the rest of us. You can just see sort of how your heart just fills up. And you just really just want to be in every way that you can. And then we'd line everybody up to take the family photos so that we could show you. After Japan, where we were for a week, we were only in Tokyo, and mostly just on the subways or in this wonderful Airbnb we had. We were in those garden houses, of course. And on the last day, we had a perfect rain. Like, we're there with little umbrellas in this Japanese garden in a gentle rain. Like, how could it be more perfect? It was just, looking at the perfectly shaped trees in the pond, and it was out of a movie. And so then we all went to New Zealand. And as it happens, the four of us, plus Atma Jyoti, were the ones who went to New Zealand in 2014, the first time Ananda went there. And our friend Kavita has like this big old house that used to be a post office, but it's just this big old wooden house, my favorite kind of house. And there's like 5 or 6 bedrooms, so we could all stay there. And she just runs her house so casually. And we'd all been there, so we were just at home. It was really like just coming to your mama's house. We'd just all be in the kitchen, do whatever we wanted. So it was fun also because we were all together. And then there's a small, very wonderful group there, very dynamic, English speaking, except they pronounce the E's really funny. I began to make fun of it. Peppermint tea. Could I have a cup of peppermint tea, please? And they would just serve it to me, not knowing I was making fun of them. But that was very homey. We did a Kriya. Did we do a Kriya there? Can't remember now. Just for the sake of memory, I have to actually think. Yes, of course we did a Kriya. Yeah, we did a wonderful Kriya there. And we had this 2-hour session in the morning that wasn't a meditation, and I couldn't be teaching them a class. So we did a little tiny Guru Day retreat, which is, I realized they didn't need more instruction. They were very well taught. They needed attunement, so we just went guru by guru. And with Dambara's marvelous facility with the music, we did it just like we did it here. I would talk, then he would chant, he would sing and chant, and then we'd meditate. So it was, I think the masters liked it because they hung out for the whole 2 hours. It was just great. And that's the sort of thing that doesn't happen unless you just think about it and you have great music. There was something going on in New Zealand that I really think we all ought to pay attention to, which is the music there. Kavita herself is not a musician. She sings, chants, and so on, but it's not her first skill. And so there's this lady there, a lovely lady named Shelley. And Shelley is a kindergarten teacher and sings very nicely herself and has, I think she plays, I'm looking at you as if you would know, Keshava, does she play the guitar? Yeah. And so it never occurred to her to make a choir. And because of that wonderful book that Chris and Anaya and whoever else worked on that, the Ananda songbook, they all had copies of the Ananda songbook, and they would carry them to every event. And Shelley had everybody sang everything. There was no performance. And here's the word, think about this, it was the hymnal, It's like every church has a hymnal, because you have all these songs with all these verses and nobody knows them, and they call out the number and everybody sings them. We chant, but the chanting is not quite the same as the hymnal. And so Dambara rarely sang a solo, because as soon as he would start, somebody would say, page 125, and they would all open the book, and then the whole room would just sing. And I realized, oh my gosh, we've gotten completely away from that, or worse than that, we never actually, as a whole community, have owned the music. We listen to it, many of us know it, but we don't own it. in the same way that those of you who grew up in churches own the hymns. And I think it's a grave mistake. Also, especially for these smaller groups, but I think it's also true in this context. I mean, of course, the 4-part harmonies, the really excellent musicians, they can put something across, but we all need to own it in the same way. It was marvelous just to hear them belting out all the words, and they all knew all the songs. I don't think Dambara ever put up a song that at least some of the people didn't know. And, they had when the idea came to do that songbook, that's exactly what I said to Anaya at that time. Everybody should have one, and they should get dog-eared. We should all have dog-eared copies of the songbook that we're always just dragging around and opening up. Can think about that. Think how that would change everybody's relationship to it. If we all, and because not only the melody, but also the words. If we were running them through our own system and not just taking them in through our ears, and so that people would realize this is not a performance. This is vibration that we're working with. So anyway, that was a great fun thing there. And then we went, these flights from here to Johannesburg was like, I think it was 19 hours of travel. It was like going to India. It was like 24 hours to get there. Then from Johannesburg, actually from Cape Town, to Tokyo was 13 hours. From Tokyo to Auckland was 13 hours. We got really good at this. We figured out the right seats. We got the right seats every time, and we just he would watch movies and I'd read novels. I just read so many novels. I had a great time. I had the luxury of being able to read. We just got good at it. And then when we finally went from Sydney back to the U.S., it was another 13. No, just 13. We'll just get on. We'll get off. You have to. There's no other. You can't resist it. Time changing. And then we went to Australia, and Australia now has the benefit of Kalamali and her husband Nara, which many of you met them because they came here a couple of years ago. Shanti did a wedding for them here. And Nara is like the quintessential Australian, if you were just going to think about what an Australian should look and sound like. As it happens, he's the same size as Ananda. He's 6.5 feet tall, and he's just a big, strong man. He was a paramedic for 20 years. I thought, if I'm ever need a paramedic, please send him. He could just pick you up and carry you wherever you needed. And he's competent in all these sorts of ways. And he's a sweetheart, and Kalamali's an angel. And they were wonderful. Kalamali lived at the village for a long time, and they met online. And so then she and her daughter moved to Australia a couple of years ago after they got married here. And they organized everything really well. Swami had always wanted to develop Australia. His original plan was West Coast, East Coast of the U.S., Europe, Australia, India. And in the 90s, he tried hard in Australia. He went to Australia about, I think, 4 times, 4 significant trips to Australia. I couldn't remember whether it's 3 or 4 exactly, which actually was a lot. Because during that time, he wasn't globetrotting, and he didn't actually. He went to Europe and then sort of figured out that Italy was where Europe was going to happen, and he would go to Italy. Then he went to India. But in between, he went to Australia multiple times when he didn't really travel to a lot of other places. He was really trying to make it happen. He ended up writing a letter, which I think is published in the Divine Friendship book, in which he says, you have a lot of good qualities, you people in Australia, but you don't understand discipleship, and we can't really get anywhere with you. I mean, essentially like that. I admire your independent spirit, but you need to understand discipleship better before we can really plant this work. It was kind of like, it was strong medicine. And so it's just nobody's tried. But I think the time has changed. I never felt any kind of resistance from the people there of that nature. And they were very, we spent the whole time, 6 days in this retreat facility, which was right in Sydney, even though Australia has the landmass of the United States with a population equal to half what's in California. So they have a lot of space around them. And they live all around the perimeter, so they all live on the ocean, or really right near to the ocean. Nara himself, right where we were, happens to be where he grew up. And we were like 5 minutes from this gorgeous ocean. So he and all his friends, they just surfed, So they grew up really strong and healthy and just powerful like that. So the energy there was really good. The energy was really good. And it was just completely starting over because they've been online this whole time. And one of the, online is really funny. There's this one man that I've talked to multiple times and counseled him and all kinds of things. And you just get a mental image. I thought he was a real small man. He turns out to be really a big man. And you're just like, your mind has to adjust. People were doing the same thing with me. They either saw me as smaller or bigger than they expected me to be. But nobody actually recognized me because they'd been watching me on the little screen like that. And then the whole person is there. You just get all these images. So they were all meeting mostly for the first time because they had to come from long distance, 10-hour drive from Melbourne, And one lady lives, there's, something in the middle, and she lives there. But it very dynamic. I really liked the country. It's a place that I can see why people go there. It's really, and I think with them in charge, they have an understanding of how to make things work, and they have a lot of charisma, a lot of good people. I think maybe what Swami wanted. When I first started traveling, 2014, my first place I wanted to go was Australia because I thought it was unfinished business for Swami. Then if I'm going to go somewhere where they speak English, I was committed then. But I couldn't, there was nobody there who could take it on. Kavita was in New Zealand, so we went there instead. But now I think we could. I say all this because this is like a whole new reality of Ananda, which is you can just look at countries and Shankar has really perfected a system of how to advertise on social media and get people interested and get them into Kriya. And so it's quite amazing. I don't know what's going to happen next. You have all these issues. In Japan, it's language. In New Zealand and Australia, it's there, they're a bazillion miles from everywhere. Sydney to San Francisco is the entire Pacific Ocean. We just flew 13 hours over the Pacific Ocean. And so anything that comes in has to come from somewhere else. So how do you get books? And we've been running our publishing companies naturally as businesses, so they can't just give the books away, but the shipping is so much. Do we get local publishers? It's just, where does translation fit in our priorities? So these are all fun ideas that we can all think about. And I'm sort of tootling around. That's basically my whole story, except that right over here is a bowl of Tim Tams, which is a favorite Australian cookie, which has no particular unique quality, except that every child apparently in Australia knows it. And one of the devotees there, this lady named Chaitanya, just brought me a big bag of the cookies, so I said I would bring them back from you, for you. And I think that's about it. Right now, I'm here. I'm obviously more rooted to this place than anywhere else. I have more stuff here, and many long-term friends here. But I don't have a lot of responsibilities except for the school play. And so I'm here for 3.5 months. And then we already bought the tickets. Dambara and I are going to Europe again. I'm going to stay 2 months. He'll only stay 1. And we're going to go to Eastern Europe with the Rudra. And I haven't figured out all the details of that, but we'll be in Eastern Europe. And then Light Bearer has been translated into Italian and is very, very popular with the devotees over there. Much more interest than I'm getting in the US, or at least a lot of interest. So last time we were there, we traveled a little bit within Italy, but this time we're going to go north to south and go up to Switzerland too. So that's 2 months. That's in the fall. I don't have any plans after that. I'm sort of just waiting to see what feels should happen. There was an invitation to China, but I'm a little nervous about going there. And there was some conversation about my going to Russia, which really scared me. But Kirtani and Anand said nobody with an American passport should go to Russia right now. So a Rudra who's from Croatia, and Darshan who's from the Netherlands. So they're in Russia actually right now. And I don't think it's hard to be in the country, but I was relieved. I had to go through this like, am I willing to die for Jesus? Kind of question. And I didn't want to die for Jesus, so I was really relieved to hear that I didn't have to. So I don't know. We'll see what happens next. It's sort of, we got an invitation to Singapore actually too, but it's the same time as I'll be in Europe, so I can't do that one. That's the whole story from my side. If there are any questions or thoughts or anything you'd like to know. Yes, Sharmila.
In these places that you've been on this trip, are you seeing leadership there that will be able to grow and maintain what's happening there, or are you sort of anticipating, as you were here, that there would be U.S. leadership going to these different places?
The question is, do I see in the places we've been the leadership? That's the entire question. At the end of Swami's life, he made a statement that I heard one way. I've heard it repeated different ways, so I'm not really sure which one is accurate. But he made some comment like, we have all the communities that we're going to have. And some people have taken that to mean that, there's no more. They've taken it in lots of different ways. The way I heard him say it, or perhaps the way he said it when he was saying it when I was there, was that it takes very good leaders to make communities, and he didn't see in the span of his lifetime, he said this, the very end of his life, he didn't see that there were people yet who could just go out and start another community. We all know, many of you have been with this one for years, and we all know what it takes. It's not just like that. And everybody would ask me, actually, I'm glad you brought this up, everybody would ask, what do you see for us? What should we do next? Everybody wants to have land and have a community and have a school, and everybody wants to have everything. And so they would expect that I would give them some kind of a 10-point program. I never did, and I tried very hard. I said, you cannot organize mentally and then write it on paper. I said, it has to be the people who are here. What kind of energy do they have? What kind of energy do you have? Because it'll never get bigger than your energy. It won't get bigger just because if I build it, they will come. And then I just would say over and over again, have fun. I know that's what Swami said, but I would ask the question over and over, who is going to make it fun? Because if somebody makes it fun, everybody will want to come. And if you just sort of make it important or think this is what should happen, nobody will come. You just have to start having it be fun, and then everybody will want to be there. They'll cross the country to be with you if it's more fun than anything else they could do. And of course, fun is deep, not trivial. So it remains to be seen, because we also didn't get a chance to get to know people really well. You could tell a certain amount just by the magnetism, and there were a lot of really good faces. And Nara and Kalamali are natural leaders. It's just he commands wherever he is. She's very bright, very she has a lot of magnetism. And Kavita's an angel, So those two countries will work really well. The others, I don't know, but they'll all just grow as they grow. It cannot be predetermined. Sometimes people surprise you too. And of course, who has the karma? Meaning, which ones have the karma to be full-time? Kalamali and Nara are raising a 6-year-old girl. And so that's important, and they have a new marriage. All that's very important. You have to follow all that. Who has the time? Who's free? So we'll see. We have to pray for everybody. That's why one of their faces in front of you, so you could just kind of see who's there, scan the field. Yeah, good question. Anything else? Yes, am I here?
Yeah. Asha,
Sorry.
did you feel that in Japan, the people who attended your talk understood the energetic content of what you were saying?
The question is, when I was in Japan, did people understand the energetic content? Mahavir and Ruhia lived in Japan for many years, and they were going to try to come with us, and we missed you. It would have been lovely to have had more Japanese-speaking Anandites there, so next time. Yes, I actually did. I had I had either made it up in my own mind or had been slightly misled about how people would respond. But the first time we meditated in Japan, it was actually amazing. Absolute, total stillness, just instantly. And at the same, yes, in Japan it was very dramatic. Actually, everywhere they meditated well, but somehow the way they meditated in Japan, they just took to it so quickly. And I opened my eyes, to see, like, are people restless? Everybody's just, absolutely stone still. And the feeling was really, really deep. I really felt that they would be very receptive. The question simply is, because of the language and the lack of resources, is like, how is that one going to, because Chika doesn't want to be a pioneer there. She wouldn't mind spending more time there if there was something established, but she doesn't feel a banner call to go and try to plow a new field. I mean, some people feel that way. Shivani always said at Ananda village, by the time they put in sidewalks, I want to be somewhere else plowing a new field. That's how she put it. And she did. She got out of Ananda village before the sidewalks came and started plowing up Europe. So some people have that. And Chika is, I think, quite capable, but she doesn't feel called because it was the obvious question. Chika, do you want to move to Japan? No. Also, Daya would smother me. Daya and Keshava rely on her, and if I talked her into going to Japan, they might kill me. But she said, oh, I will come, but I don't want to start. So I don't know. And again, because of the language, it was a little hard to tell. But there's good, strong energy there, and I think there's a marvelous work to be done there. But see, also, I think because we were there and I was sending all these letters out, I think many people in our international family will suddenly realize, because see, this is a whole new era of Ananda. Oh, I could just go. I could just call my friends there, and we could just start having a lot more international exchange all over the place. And not necessarily going the way I go with a videographer, but you can just go and be friends and get to know people and share a little bit, and then you can see how it would work. And I think it will. I think we're really, really at the beginning. It is the moment. The world is so, oh my gosh, everybody's so nervous. They just don't know what's going to happen next. And so this is the moment when they need this teaching. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Yeah. The question is, do we want to sing a couple of Swamiji's songs all together? Should we try? Okay. We'll put it up on the wall because I don't suppose you brought your songbooks with you, did you? iPad. Did you? Is there a guitar in the room? Do we have a guitar? Yeah. Tandava, do you want to play it? Keshava, do you want to play it? Or one or the other of you guys? Okay. And what song should we sing? Life is a Dream. Keshava votes for Life is a Dream. And Brothers. Okay, Life is a Dream and Brothers. And this is an all sing. And thank you all. Oh, let me just say a couple of more things before I stop. I was telling people, a lot of people when I was traveling, I was there because of the generosity of people who felt that wanted to be part of that kind of expansion, but didn't have the karma themselves to do it. Unbelievable. I thought there were 100 people supporting me, and then I began to get insecure and think I was exaggerating. There's 180 people who regularly just contribute to what is now called, a little overnamed, Mission of the Masters, because that was just the name that insisted on being the name. And so, people are giving like $5, $10, but it adds up. And so I could say to everyone, yeah, if you want me back, I'll just buy another ticket. And I'm saying that out loud because I know a lot of those people who are supporting it are going to see this. And I can't tell you how much it means to me personally, but what it means to the people that we were meeting. Because if they had really had to raise the money, I don't think we could have gone, and I couldn't have taken a musician, and I couldn't have taken a videographer. But because of their generosity, your generosity and theirs, and yours, who am I talking to? I don't know who I'm talking to. But isn't it fun? What we can do together? Just make these sorts of things happen. And what good karma we have. I've mentioned to you before that the money that I inherited from my father, a lot of it went to help Swami in India when he first started with the television shows, and it's been used to publish the books that I've published, and a number of other things, actually, and help build the school here, too, now that I think about it. And one day I realized that's my father's good karma, because he earned it. He didn't inherit it. I just inherited it, but he earned it. He worked hard. I watched him. And so his effort is, as you know, Light Bearer was published. I was able to publish it beautifully because of that. And Swami was able to do a whole bunch of television shows and other things. Think about that. You know, it's just like this web of interplay of light is so marvelous. And all of the generosity of the members of this temple that keep it going, that make us have a staff, that have this beautiful place. It's just like, wow, privilege and gratitude. Okay? So, let's sing.
Life is a dream.
Life is a dream. Can you post it up there, James, for those who don't happen to know the words? I'm going to turn off my mic so that I can sing, please.
Asha, Swami said, I believe, someone correct me if I'm mistaken, that the melody of this song more carries the vibration he was trying to put out. And I just realized, I don't know that I've ever sung the melody of that song before.
Can you turn my microphone back on for a second? What David Gamma was saying was that the melody is where the vibration of the song is. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was the other thing I was going to say about the fact that we don't own this music on our own and we leave it to choir. I remember the first time we did the oratorio sing-along, which was 20 or 25 years ago. Chaitanya, who now lives in Sacramento, was one of our main singers, Irish tenor. It was the first time he'd ever sung melody. And he was about as deep in this music as you could possibly be, but after that experience, he said, I never sang the melodies. And it was just a complete change for him to sing the melody, which is another reason why we have to not just make it choir. I love having choir, and choir is wonderful. This is not an either or. This is a both and, but yes, because of the melody. Okay? And all of you basses and tenors and altos. Yeah.
Asha, when I started choir, I was not a soprano, but Chaitanya put me in the soprano section to get into music.
So he put you in there even though it wasn't your voice range, so that you'd get in tune with it. Very, very good. Okay, brothers.
I've lived in many countries and mixed with many men. I've shared the days of sunshine, gone with them in the rain. The fires and evening said we were brothers. The fire
appropriate enough to skip that one, I guess.
You know what we need, obviously. It's not people have to bring their own corpses. We need to stack them in the temple.
Yeah, just, I mean, that's where hymnals live. Yeah, yeah, we all know how this works, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I know, exactly. Do you want one more, since we didn't quite get the words up for that one? What's the favorite? What should we do one last song? If we can, what James can get it up. Brave were the people? Okay. Do you have that one, James? Let's make sure that James can find it before we do it. Pardon me?
I do the same way with brothers, so it's not a slide, but it'll be in text.
I can't. Joy in the heavens. Is there one that, James, you have right on hand?
I got it.
Okay, whichever one it is, put it up there and we'll do it. And then we'll call it a night.
Whichever one you want.
Joy in the heavens? Joy in the heavens is the one we want. It's close enough. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountain, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries, carry them down to the sea. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom, but don't see the dungeon. It's only a thought that they're bound. Desires of the shackles, the hope of tomorrow, the doorway to joy will be found. Desires of the shackles, the hope of tomorrow, the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us, why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. I think Ananda is just beginning. And all of you who are the generation after me and after me, 2 generations down, we have a lot of fun things we can do. Yeah, lots going to happen. Okay, joy us.